So it turns out I was wrong. DDP did in fact beat Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman couldn't even get a single takedown on Dricus. It was an unfortunate fight for Kamaru. 39 years old, no cartilage, no knees. DDP took him to a decision. Wow, so impressive. You do not deserve a title shot after that, Dricus, mate. Dricus Du Plessis called for a title shot. He called out Khamzat Chimaev. He called out Sean Strickland. Fair enough, he has 2 wins over the current champion, Sean Strickland. But the truth is, he don't deserve a title shot for that. He don't deserve a title shot for that. If he had went out there and finished Kamaru Usman, which I think he could have, to be honest with you, I think he would have got the title shot because that would have been impressive. That would have been a great victory. And it would have been, a highlight reel KO over a former champion, a legend in Kamaru Usman. But that did not occur. He went out there and he looked good. Honestly, Dricus looked good. He didn't look as sloppy as he typically does. He was composed. And you could tell that he was really trying to focus on being agile and being quick and being technical. The way he was whipping up the question mark kick. It was fast, it was quick, it was impressive. And he didn't look as goofy as he normally does. But he could have finished Usman. I think the old Dricus, the reckless, Dricus Du Plessis that we know and love of the past that just goes out there and chin in the air, throwing punches, winging punches like there's no tomorrow. That guy probably would have finished Kamaru because he had Kamaru Usman rocked. Who knows what Kamaru Usman's chin is made out of? That shit is made out of gold. That shit is titanium infused because he was taking some insane shots and he was not going down. He was wobbled a lot. And obviously, he thought the knuckle in the eye was an eye poke. And I think if that hadn't been stopped right then, I think Dricus might have finished the fight there. The sequence could have went out and he could have got it done. But, it was impressive. Here's how I would matchmake the rest of the middleweight division. Controversial opinion, I think I would do Dricus versus Khamzat too. I know there's not a lot of call for that because the first fight was so boring. But we don't want another situation where Khamzat goes ahead and sits out and then Dricus fights Strickland and then you get Dricus beating Strickland like he probably would because that's a terrible matchup for Sean Strickland. We saw how that second fight went. Strickland made no improvements and Dricus vastly improved and adapted and overcame it. So I think I would do Dricus versus Khamzat to avoid Dricus versus Strickland because Dricus would just win. And then Khamzat would probably be like, well, I deserve the title shot. He might get it. He might lay on top of Dricus for another 5 rounds. And then we have the same situation all over again. Sean might go back and beat Khamzat, So we don't want that happening. We don't want this endless cycle of 3 guys that realistically no one gives a real shit about. We haven't had a big star in the middleweight division since Adesanya. Khamzat was supposed to be that big star, but he couldn't get it done. And his title-winning performance was boring, which lost him a lot of fans. And then he lost to Strickland. You could argue Strickland's a star, but I really don't think he is because his title fight wins, whilst impressive, they're not entertaining. And he hasn't really got that many highlight reel KOs outside of the top 5, the top 10. He's only really KO guys when he was on the come-up. So I don't think I would do Strickland versus DDP. I think I would do DDP versus Khamzat too. I hope DDP would have made some improvements and that could be a more entertaining fight. And I would do in the meantime Strickland versus Imavov. Imavov is the clear number 1 contender. He's fought and beat Adesanya. That was a more prime Adesanya. And he honestly could have got the title shot off of that. But they didn't give it to him. He's then gone ahead and fought Caio Borralho. He's got the win over him. Okay, so he's got wins over Brendan Allen, Israel Adesanya, and most recently Caio Borralho. He deserves a title shot. He's lost to Strickland before. It's a rematch that realistically no one cares about. But in the interest of the sport, he is the rightful number 1 contender. He's fought and beat middleweights. Dricus has only lost to Khamzat and beaten a welterweight moving up in his most recent performances. So I think Imavov deserves the shot over Dricus. Dricus should fight either Khamzat Chimaev or I think Brendan Allen. I think Khamzat Chimaev is the more likely one. There's beef there. You can sell it, sort of, even though the first fight was not that entertaining. And do Strickland versus Imavov. I think Strickland will probably win that fight. Strickland won the first fight that they had on short notice. Strickland is very good. He's very underrated. He's very boring, but he is very good. Very defensively sound striker. So Strickland versus Imavov for the title and then do DDP. He needs to fight one more. if I was him, I'd be pushing for the Brendan Allen fight just because that's an easy fight. Brendan Allen's always talking shit about Dricus Du Plessis. Brendan Allen missed a split decision with an unranked douchebag that no one cares about. Brendan Allen is not that good. He is crap. He is rank squatting right now. He doesn't deserve to be in the top 5 at all. So I think DDP could fight Brendan Allen, but I think the company's probably going to make him versus Khamzat. And then we'll see what happens between Strickland and Imavov. The middleweight division is one that has kind of been a little bit dead since Adesanya's reign has died down, especially to the casual fan base. Sure, the hardcore fan base is sort of still invested in these guys and these contenders, but Dricus is not really a star. Sean Strickland's a bit of a star, and he's kind of becoming one, but mostly because of his out of the octagon antics and his edgy persona that he puts on. Realistically, though, we haven't had a mainstream star in the middleweight division for quite some time, and probably we won't have for quite some time as well. Got guys like Christian Leroy Duncan coming up the ranks, RoboCop, Fluffy Hernandez. These guys are all very good, but they're not really stars in their own right. So we'll see what happens. DDP, I think out of everyone, him and Khamzat are the guys that have the most potential to become big stars in the future. DDP's just striking. I can't get behind DDP because his striking is so awful to watch. It works. He'd kill me with one kick, but it's so bad to watch. It's so even against Kamaru, I'll talk about this a little bit. Even against Kamaru, where it looked improved, it looked better. It was just so sloppy, and he's breathing out of his mouth, and he's kind of hunched forward a little bit, and he kind of just relies on brute strength. I think he's one of those guys that will get exposed sooner rather than later. I still stand by the fact, the reason why I picked Kamaru Usman to win, and I think an in-prime, younger Kamaru Usman would take that fight, to be honest with you. And the reason why I picked even the old man version of Usman to win, obviously wrongfully, was just because DDP has so many weaknesses. You can watch it as a coach, as a fighter, as an analyst, and see a numerous amount of errors, of mistakes that this guy makes all the time. These openings on the feet. That's why I thought Adesanya was going to knock him out. I thought Adesanya would lean back, hit him like Anderson Silva and get the knockout. But Dricus's iron chin, his brute strength makes up for it, and he continues to prove me wrong. He's on a win streak now, a 1-fight win streak. He's back in the win column, I should say. And very exciting to see what's next for him. I think run him versus Khamzat, the rematch, co-main event, on maybe a December card. And we'll see what happens. Dricus Du Plessis. I was wrong. Kamaru Usman. Where does Kamaru Usman go from here? I'll just talk about that in the very last section of this video. I think he should retire. I hope he's made enough money from this game. I hope he's made enough money from the sport to be comfortable and to be set for the rest of his life. He was the defending champ. He defended the belt 6 times at welterweight. He wasn't the biggest star, but I'm sure he was making a couple mil per defense. If he was smart with his money, he's got the podcast going with Cejudo. I don't know if he's got any businesses going on, investments. This guy should be set for life. He's 39 years old. He's got a beautiful family. Why keep taking the damage? He can compete with the best of the best. He could probably beat a Brendan Allen. He could probably beat a Joe Pyfer. There's guys in the rankings, highly ranked at middleweight, that he can beat. And if he does decide to stay around, I think he should stay at middleweight. As he gets older, the weight cut's obviously going to be harder. And the middleweight division is kind of food for him, to be honest with you. The welterweight division, I do not favor him strongly against those guys. Michael Morales would destroy. He's basically fighting middleweights at welterweight, right? Because these young guys can cut so much more weight than these older guys can, and they balloon up to 200 pounds. He may as well just stay at middleweight, where the guys are pretty much the same size, but they're not as skilled. So stay at middleweight if he's not going to retire, would be my advice, and fight some bums. Get a couple wins together and retire nicely. He's not going to sniff a belt. The second win, the second belt that he was hoping for is probably not going to occur. It is what it is. He's had a great career. He should be proud of it. But if he doesn't retire, stay at middleweight, fight some bums, and ride off into the sunset. Kamaru Usman, he's still got wins, legendary wins in his career. Leon Edwards, he beat the first time, right? Second time, he was very close to beating. Sean Strickland, he's got a win over Sean Strickland. Colby Covington twice. We see actually how impressive that is, considering Colby went out there, Raf, and beat up on Arman Sarukian. Jorge Masvidal. Gilbert Burns in his prime. This guy's got a lot of a lot of good fights. And if he decides to stay at middleweight, I want to see him fight a Brendan Allen or a Joe Pyfer. If he decides to go back to welterweight, give him like Bilal Muhammad. There's beef there. Very interesting for Usman, but realistically, I think he should just hang it up. It's been a long career. It's been a legendary career. This guy was the boogeyman, riddled with injuries. Hope his knees hold up and he's not in a wheelchair in 20 years' time. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe. I'll see you boys in the next one. Much love.